Right, day 2 of Tactics Week on the channel. Today is Everything Championship. We're looking at the race to the Premier League, the tactics of Leeds, Sheffield United and Burnley. And interestingly, if you weren't aware, all of them play a 4-2-3-1. Different variants at time, but generally, like Leeds United, 4-2-3-1 all the way through. The others, sometimes Sheffield United drop into maybe a 4-5-1 at times or a 4-4-1-1. And Burnley very much 4-2-3-1 with their very different midfield, and it's really interesting to see how the three tactics have developed. I want right now your predictions down in the comments, how they're going to finish this season. In real life, not FM, I'm kind of confident of how it's going to work in FM. 1, 2, 3, what are your championship top 3? And then I've simulated one season using all three tactics at the same time, and it's thrown up some results. All right, all the tactics are now available for the Patreons. Right, link down in the description if you want to support the channel and get the files directly so you can put them straight into FM. If not, I am going to go through all the tactic rules, player instructions, etc. so you can follow on the video and put them into your own game yourself. Let's go. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is Leeds United. Now, generally highest for possession. It's interesting, the three teams are kind of very much not complete enders. Maybe a bit harsh on Scott Parker and Burnley in terms of how they're playing. You know, they aren't packed. They're getting tremendous defensive record, which we know about. Loads of clean sheets. Hardly conceded any goals. But it's not because they're essentially parking the bus. It's just three maybe ends of the 4-2-3-1 spectrum, I suppose. So Leeds United generally have a more of an attacking style, a lot of pace. The squad is absolutely fantastic, despite the sales and the losses of people like Somerville and who was the other one? Jorginho Rutter. They've not struggled. They've had to adapt that number 10 role this year. But obviously the output of Rutter last year is very different to an Aronson, but they've made it work. And this is how they're going about it at the moment. So Meslier, I put him as a sweeper keeper on attack, mainly because in starting positions in build-up, he gets quite high, and often he's like splitting the centre-halves. What they like to do is kind of have the two full-backs pushed up a little bit higher and have Meslier getting involved in build-up, more to the detriment, sometimes of Leeds United with Meslier. Surely summer signing would be a goalkeeper for them, Leeds fans. Let me know down in the comments. We'll talk about Sheffield United's keeper towards the end of the video as well. So, yeah, definitely something that they need to look at strengthening, I would suggest, based on not so much FM, because in FM he looks pretty decent, but generally in real-life terms, he's dropped the ball a few times. Right back has generally been Bogle. A little bit different in profile to the left wing back, just because in front, a lot of the times it has been Dan James, who is that out-and-out winger. I know other players, Solomon, I imagine Wilfred Nonto has played there at times as well. They've got Ramazani. But in terms of minutes, I'm trying to do it based on the amount of minutes played during the season, because obviously as the season develops, players drift in and out of form. This is kind of like a general Leeds United tactic this season. And because of that role of Dan James, who's more an out-and-out winger, Bogle is definitely more of a support option. So that's why we've got wing-back on support. They like to play out from the back, whether it's Roden, Stroik, Ampadu would have probably done it at times as well before his injury. But for both of them, both defenders, we have got ball-playing defenders on defend. And then the left wing-back, Junior Firpo, who's been, I don't know if he's turned into a bit of a cult figure at Leeds, because he had a bit of a torrid time when he first signed. Was it for Real Betis? No, Barcelona. He was Real Betis to Barcelona and then to Leeds United. Bit of a rough spell, but he's actually had a really good season. Really aggressive down that left-hand side, mainly because on this side they tend to have someone in terms of, you know, it might be Solomon or Anonto, who generally like to drift in. So it's very important that Junior Firpo gives us that width down that left-hand side. A lot of heat maps are kind of showing us as well that he's liking that higher position, maybe more to the Bogle on the right-hand side. The two defensive midfielders, once again, the DM, this could be a whole host of players. It would have been Ampadu at certain times, Rothwell, who I actually really like, and Gruev, all kind of rotate the role. And then Tanaka has been an ever-present for Leeds United, playing as many minutes as possible. I've got him as a roaming playmaker, but just because if we have a quick look at his sort of like touch map, he's absolutely everywhere. He's not been much of a box threat as well, as you can see. So I've put him as a roaming playmaker because his passing distribution, generally ticking play and being the heartbeat of everything. I think the roaming playmaker suits him really well. Dan James, we spoke about. Obviously, if you go down the route with a Nonto, you could perhaps, no, I'd maybe keep that width on that right. And what you want to do is, with Dan James, we want him on that right side. His left foot is not great. You could probably get away with tweaking that role to something like an inverted forward if you want, inverted winger or something if you wanted to. with the left-hand side being more of a support option. We've got the player instruction of roaming from position, allowing Nonto and Solomon, whoever plays out that way, just to drift in, because we're going to get that natural overlap anyway from Junior Firpo. The shadow striker I've got at the moment is Brandon Aronson. Now, obviously, they've lost Rutter last season. Aronson was very much of the Jesse Marsh reign, was on loan last year, has come back in and has actually been okay. He's very much like that number 10 that doesn't do a lot creative-wise, doesn't drop in often and, link play. He's very much allowing the centre-forward in Pirro to sort of like drop in, and then he's the sort of like the one getting on the end of things, being really aggressive out without the ball. So we've got Tackle Harder and Mark Tyre on him. And then Joel Pirro, I was a little bit stuck between this one because he does link play pretty well. He's not an out-and-out target man, but we want him to link play. So I've gone with a DLF on support, but target man on support, target man on attack. It could have been something around those lines, maybe a DLF on attack. Be interested as well. Leeds United fans, let me know if you play the game regularly. Let me know your thoughts on that Joel Pirro role. And then into the team instructions for the mentality we've got attacking. It's quick, it's aggressive. Interested to see how Daniel Farke. I do expect these to get promoted this year, one of the top 2 positions. I just don't know how he's going to change, because he didn't change very much when he went to Norwich. He's maybe, if anything, he's maybe dropped it a little bit from that attacking intensity from when he was at Norwich City. But it'd be interesting to see the changes that he makes next season. But on the flip side, I would say maybe Leeds are quite well prepared to be in the Premier League, better than what maybe the other clubs have been previously. If you think of the Leicester and then losing their best player in Dewsbury Hall, Southampton had loads of players on loan, so their buying policy had to be getting those players in. And then we know Ipswich have signed so many players because, once again, they had so many players. So I do expect Leeds, if they do to come up and have the money available with the squad they've got, to kind of just add maybe 5 or 6, but those 5 or 6 been really top quality rather than doing what the others have done and signing maybe 9 and 10. In possession, fairly wide attacking width. We're going to focus the play down the left heavily. I think it's like 40% of the focus of attacks have gone down that left-hand side. So we're going to go down there. Shorter passing, high on possession numbers. I think they're up to 60% leads, highest in the championship. But we want that Daniel Farke German intensity, so we're going higher tempo. In transition, we're going to distribute to the goalkeeper quickly. So distribute to the goalkeeper, we're going to distribute to the centre-halves quickly. We're going to counter-attack, and we're going to counter-press as well. They're very good leads at pinning teams in, getting the ball back extremely quickly. And then out of possession, we're going for it. High press, much higher line, very much like Daniel Farke liked to do at Norwich City. And it's kind of taken maybe not to the extremes, but once again, can we win the ball back in their half? Can we press? Can we suffocate teams as much as possible? So that is Leeds United. Now let's go to Burnley. We're going to go to the opposite end of kind of the spectrum in terms of the 4-2-3-1. Obviously, we know they've had fantastic defensive record, etc. But generally, it's still a 4-2-3-1. And there's a couple of roles that I would love Burnley fans in the comments to let me know, like, what you would tweak. And it's really difficult to, a lot of the midfield roles have changed. Not to change, but personnel changing, rotating a lot. Even, they've gone with Laurent, Cullen and Brownhill, and them 3 have often played as more of a higher guy. Hannibal Mejbri has been in and out of the side. So I think at the back 4, he's kind of little back 5, including the goalkeeper, he's a little bit more set. So we've got James Trafford in goal, sweeper keeper on defend. We've got Roberts as an inverted wing back on defend. I'll just put his heat map up right now to show you. There you go. You could see kind of tuck it in a little bit. Maybe that's because of the midfield role we've got in terms of the Volante, one of the midfielders pushing on, but generally sits a little bit narrower, allows that space to that wide player on that right-hand side. Would have been Jadon Anthony, but now Marcus Edwards has come in. He's played out on that right-hand side. I thought there was 2 ball-playing defenders on defend. Esteve is really good. Looking like if they don't get promoted, I think he will make a move somewhere else. And then Egan Riley has come in and played well. You could maybe also change, if you wanted to change and go with 2 central defenders on defend. They're not absolutely massive in terms of playing out from defence. They do it, but once again, with players like Fleming, they tend to, can mix it up a little bit. Once again, the build-up is maybe a little bit more simpler than what you maybe find at Leeds United. On the left-hand side, we've gone with Perez, very much a attacking winger naturally in the game, so it's good we've got him as a complete wing-back on support. Into the midfield, I like this midfield, and I could see why Burnley have been so hard to beat, because they've got players like Brownhill, really good at this level, Josh Cullen, really good at this level, Mejbri's maybe found his level, but all aggressive, hard-working. They've also got Josh Laurent, and I think it's actually a sign of the squad that they have, that it is a very industrial, hard-working kind of squad, and maybe that's why they've been so good defensively, with then a little bit of polish in the attacking areas. So Brownhill, look, this could be anything. It could be, I'm not going to go as far as an anchor, but you want your ball winners, you want your maybe one volante, the attacking midfielder as well. They haven't got the out-and-out playmaker, unless maybe Sammy Ento, comes into the side, then you might want to change that role. So you could do that depending on the opponent you have. But I do think the plan would have been for Scott Parker to have Mejbri as very much that number 10 who's got a little bit of quality on the ball, but then also he's really good out of possession. And this is probably why they're so hard. So I think you're free there. I wouldn't have that as a playmaking role. And I would have these as these energetic ball winners, defensive midfielders on support, your maybe defensive midfielder and defend, your volantes, etc. In the wide area, we did have Jadon Anthony over that side for a large proportion of the season. Very much a winger. Now Marcus Edwards has come in. Tremendous pickup, by the way. I've got him as an inverted winger on attack. Mejbri we spoke about. Anthony now on that left-hand side a little bit more, but we've got cut inside with the ball because is he right-footed? I think he's right-footed. Yeah, he's right-footed. We're going to have that overlapping run from Perez as well, so we'll have him being a little bit more direct in terms of going towards goal. And then Fleming, the striker, he's not really a striker. I didn't realise this until I watched a couple of videos on Burnley, that he's not actually a striker. He's very much a number 10 that's doing a little bit of a job. He likes to drop in, link play, and then get in the penalty area. So that's why we've got a DLF on attack for him. Now, mentality. I've gone balanced. I thought the cautious was a little bit too harsh on Scott Parker. They're in and around, a lot of the statistics, they're in and around, like the attacking wise, they're on around mid-table. So a lot of it, so I thought, let's just be balanced. We're going to go be more disciplined now, so players stick to their role, play out of defence a little bit. And I've also gone slightly lower tempo, trying to control the game as much as possible, be as safe as possible as well, try and hold on to the ball when we can. Fairly narrow, that'll help us defensively. We've been super compact in that midfield with those three players that we've spoke about in there. And that's it for that. In transition, I've left it blank. It's very much an open book. Scott Parker is kind of pragmatic and goes along the lines of, let's see what the opposition have got and let's formulate a plan to beat them, which I do like. So, there will be an element of counter-attacking, especially with Jadon Anthony and Marcus Edwards now in the side. Maybe don't do it all the time, but you could do that. Counter-press at times, regroup at times. This is all really flexible with Scott Parker. He's getting a little bit of a... Burnley, I'm going to really enjoy watching potentially Burnley next year because of how the other teams have gone up. So we're talking Southampton, Russell Martin, 65% of the ball. Leicester under Maresca, 65% of the ball. Ipswich, a fantastic fluid side playing that 4-2-3-1. And they've all had to, Russell Martin died on the sword. Maresca went, and then they brought in a guy who had to change the style. And it's been a little bit of all over the place with Steve Cooper and now Ruud van Nistelrooy. And then Ipswich have kind of done it, but not gone full tilt. So it'd be really good to see a defensively minded, solid tactic as a Burnley and how they then adapt, less adaptation to the Premier League. And it'd be interesting to see how many goals they concede, how many 1-0 wins they can win, how many goals they can score away from home, that sort of thing. So, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing a Scott Parker side. I think all three teams deserve to go up, and whether it's Sheffield United in the playoffs, whoever, really cool if they can win the playoffs and all three teams go up together. Out of possession, I've got mid-block and get stuck in. That is Burnley. Right. And then in the middle, watched a really good interview actually with, and I will believe it actually in the link down in the description. It was just a BBC Radio Sheffield interview with Chris Wilder after the Sheffield Wednesday win a couple of weeks ago. And now he talks about like the adaptations they've made, the changes they've made, and basically, we've gone from more a defensive style we've kind of gone from that more attacking style from a Daniel Farke to a maybe more defensive compact to bang in the middle, which is like horses for courses. And he comes up with an interesting phrase where you can beat teams three ways. You either go over them, through them, or around them. And I think he's been very much adapting to how other teams are playing, the personnel that he's got, and he just wants to win football matches. And Sheffield United, it was a really good appointment, I think, appointing him in the season allowing that Premier League last few games and having that little bit of time on the training field, getting ready for this season. 2 points deducted as well, remember, so they've been going absolutely superbly well, and obviously a really high turnover in players once again, which you expect for these teams that get relegated. And this is my Sheffield United tactic. So, as I said, very much, I haven't watched Sheffield United much, and I love Harrison Burrows, and I did actually think that they were maybe going to be still playing with a 3 and allowing him to get really far forward. So it was interesting to see that he's completely abandoned pretty much the 5 at the back, the 3 at the back, like the traditional, the overlapping centre halves and stuff. And literally, I thought when I looked at the formations played during the season, I thought we would see maybe a mixture between the two, and it hasn't been the case. So it's really good to see that he's been able to adapt the team as much as he has from what he's kind of been used to doing over the last maybe 10 years or so. So, goalkeeper, arguably the best goalkeeper in the division, Mike Cooper. My thing is now, Sheffield United fans, and I apologise, if you do not get promoted, Leeds do, Burnley do, James Trafford may potentially go on to a bigger club. I would like to see him at Manchester United because I do think he's so much more better than Onana. But people like West Ham are going to need goalkeepers. Leeds United, we've spoke about, going to need goalkeepers. Well, will you lose him? That's the question. But he's been absolutely phenomenal. We've got Superkeeper on defend for him. Fullback on the right, he's very much the reserved kind of fullback. We've just gone bog standard fullback on support. It's been Clark. Chowdhury's played there. They've got other players like Rob Holden. Alfie Gilchrist has played there. And then we've got the 2 centre-backs in FM legend from what would he have been? Malmo days, so maybe FM21, FM22 maybe, and has stuck with the club, and that'll be a really good, Premier League experience ready for next year. So we've got 2 defenders, 2 central defenders on defending there in terms of Robinson and Hamed Hodovic. Yeah, we'll go with that. We're not going to say his name too often. And on the left-hand side, Harrison Burrows. I didn't realise that he was actually 5'6". Didn't realise he was that small, but he's absolutely tremendous at getting forward. Really good season in League One with Peterborough last year and has turned it round in terms of championship form this year as well. We've got him as a complete wing-back on attack, and that's important with the combination of role that we've got in front of him. This one, it must be, because I'm sure at the start of the season, they were playing one of the youngsters. Is it Where is he? This one. Oliver Harblaster. Now, by the looks of it, he's only made about, I'm going to say 12 appearances in the league, and I'm pretty sure they were all towards the start of the season as well. He must have some sort of injury because another youngster has come into the side in Peck, which is a tricky one because he's been playing as a DM, but the game rates him as a sort of like a Mazzala, Volante, that kind of thing. So Sheffield United fans, you're probably more knowledge of what I've seen. I've just put him as a DM on support because I did want Vinicius Souza being a Volante because he's aggressive, number 8, wants to get forward a little bit, very much a box-to-box midfield, and I kind of see that Volante role as that. So that's why we've got those 2 roles. They've obviously got players like Chowdhury that come into the side as well. So once again, you'd expect maybe that to be there. Tom Davies, yeah, all those sort of like box-to-box ball-winning midfielders kind of roles. But if I've got that completely wrong, let me know. On the right-hand side, we've gone with Rak-Saki. Now, I think when he plays there, he's very much a winger, left foot. So you could do winger with the instruction, winger on attack with the instruction of cut inside with the ball. However, over the last few weeks, Ben Brereton Diaz has been playing there, and he is very much more of an inverted forward. So depending on who you're playing there, that's what you want. This one is an interesting one. I love Callum O'Hare. I was going to go shadow striker, and I thought, no, let's go Trequartista because he kind of does drift in absolutely everywhere. So I've done that. I think if you're wanting to be a little bit more FM savvy, a shadow striker will do absolute bits for you. And then on the left-hand side, Gustavo Hermer, absolutely massive fan of him. I thought a Premier League club might have taken a punt on him, maybe, but he hasn't. Generally a number 8, but has been moved out onto this left-hand side, very much an AP, drifting in and allowing Burrows to get round that left-hand side. And then up front, look, they've got Bruce, has not played much. They've now got Diaz. Obviously, you're going to play Kiefer Moore, put him as a target forward. Tom Cannon, Tyrese Campbell, all pressing forwards in my eyes. Lead the line. He wants that kind of classic number 9. So we've gone with that. You could probably get away as well with an advanced forward. Positive mentality for the team instructions and very basic, slightly more direct, higher tempo. In transition, we've gone for a counter-attack. distribute to centre-backs. It changes. He's very much, once again, kind of pragmatic. They attack when they need to attack. They defend, drop in when they need to drop in. He'll play differently to how he plays against maybe a Leeds United, to how he plays against Plymouth, for example, Luton. So very much, if you're going to do the Sheffield United kind of really in-depth tactic, it will once again been a little bit pragmatic in not so much the formation, but the roles, the transitions, the team instruction stuff. It will all change depending on who they're playing. And then out of possession, we've gone with a higher line, but a mid-block, so not overly aggressive, nice and compact, making us, once again, difficult to beat. Sheffield United did, early on in the season, have better defensive numbers than what they do now. All right, those are the 3 tactics, all available for the Patreons right now. Link down in the description. We're all here, look. I've done 1 season. I put myself as unsackable. So there you go. They're all become unsackable, so we get the full season, and we go on holiday just using the tactic. Not the team, but just the tactic, and see how they end up. And this is how we ended up. 1 good, 1 okay, and 1 horrendously wrong. And it just shows that when I make these tactics, guys, I make them as realistic as I possibly can in terms of what FM wants, but what I kind of see in real life. And I did worry about the Burnley tactic a little bit, and it being a little bit boring in the midfield. We know that it's industrious, and we're relying on that little bit of quality in that final third, individual quality, rather than a real clear, not plan, because that's really harsh on Scott Parker, but a real good, strong attacking identity. So they've absolutely stunk the place out, relegated, joint bottom with the 2 other teams, Portsmouth and Plymouth, all on 41 points. And by the looks of it, they've had a horrendous run at the end of the season. Look at that. They haven't won since February. I wonder where they were in February. So they were in a rat. Look, there's March. They were still in 17th, but they've just been sucked in. And it's been quite dramatic. Sheffield United, bang in the middle, 11 points, 64 it would have been without the 2 points. So maybe a little bit underappreciated, maybe a little bit disappointing there in terms of their numbers. What did they score? They scored a lot, 76, but conceded a lot, 70, which is unusual with the tactic. Maybe the trequartista and maybe not getting enough in terms of helping out, but we'll go and see a few scores in a minute. And then at the top, Leeds United, only 2 defeats to Sunderland and West Brom, 106, 94, less than a goal a game as well, which is absolutely tremendous. Miles less than everyone else, which is really good. And if we look at a couple of team stats, average possession, Burnley actually had more than Leeds United, which is interesting. Sheffield United in and around where they are. Good that you see Burnley with good, decent possession, but by the looks of it, not done a lot with it. Let's have a quick look at the PPDA is a bit shit in terms of how it works. Leeds United, by the way, loads of fault. Look, so there you go. Leeds United, good counter-pressing side. Norwich are up there. And Burnley, Sheffield United kind of passive, which they kind of are at the moment. So that's kind of realistic. Let's come quickly go and have a player stats. Tom Cannon has actually done really well for Sheffield United. Diaz has done well for Sheffield United. Leeds United, remarkably, must have spread their goals out, because by the looks of it, Willie Gnonto is the leading goal scorer. Yeah. They've had 7 players all scoring 10 goals or more. And I imagine Greenwood's on loan. That don't count. Primrose had a nightmare. Who have they been playing? I imagine Willie Gnonto's probably gone and played as a striker, has he? He's played all over. He's played absolutely all over. But a really good... Mattia Joseph probably played there a lot. Ramazani, Jan James, they've all rotated and had a really good, solid season. All right, guys, that is it. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. See you later.